Hi friends, I recently introduced the polka, Shoe the Donkey, and I'll put a link to the introduction to the tune up there and at the end. However, a special shout out to a member of our community, Fever Stock Photo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was having a horrible time finding any recordings of this polka on YouTube, on Google, and it was just driving me nuts because the session website says the title should be Shoe the Donkey, even though there are over 20 other titles they share. But Feverstock Photo sent me a note, replied to the video that said, I learned this, and when I learned it, it was called the Glenside Polka. Well, of course, I looked up the Glenside Polka, and what do you know? I found just this tune. And apparently there are a couple of polkas with the name Glenside Polka. This also goes by Shoe the Donkey, but it also goes by Glenside and like 20 other tunes. So I'm going to change the name of this to Shoe the Donkey / Glenside. Make it a little easier. Feverstock Photo, thank you 1,000 times again. But what I wanted to do today was to share my practice session with you. So when I'm demonstrating what can be done with a tune, I've often practiced it, a number of hours. But when I'm sharing my practice session, I introduce the tune and I set it aside and I don't pick it up again until I'm ready to show you my practice session. So it's a polka, so it's a little quick. So I've not done much of anything with this tune since I recorded it yesterday early in the morning, and so I want to share kind of my practice session. A practice session, when you think about it, means you're working on it, and that means it could be a little rough. We watch people playing tunes and we go, oh man, they are so great. They have put hours and hours and hours into practicing, maybe into practicing that one tune. So I intentionally don't do that when I'm sharing a practice session. I want you to see how stumbly and fumbly it is and how I'm thinking through it. I want to share my thinking and my playing. So I'm going to run it through first on my Wild Irish. Now, we know the tune. I'm pretty sure I know the tune. I got lost. So notice I was focusing there on the tune itself, throwing some ornaments in and experimenting. Notice also at times when I'm thinking about an ornament, I slow myself down and think about it and try something. So like when I'm going through this tune, so I've got some ornaments in there plus that little trill just to enhance it a bit. I don't want to overdo it because the polka is supposed to just be a little punchy and fun. So if I over ornament it, I'm going to kind of lose the tune. So I want to add enough in to make it lively. Okay, and I'm thinking through that. I like that. So with those jumps, think about this when you're practicing it. You want enough ornamentation to liven it up, but not so much ornamentation to distract. Because also those jumps, it's a great opportunity to be punchy. So if you over ornament it, you miss some of the punchiness. But if you under ornament it, you're boring. Anyway, so that's some of what I'm doing. I'm going to transition now to my Howard. And I find something really interesting. There is a slight difference between how I am learning a tune with a high D than I am with a low D. For me, there's a little bit of a difference, and I need to wrap my brain and my fingers around that. It takes me a smidge longer. My learning curve on the low D is a little steeper and a little longer than it is on the high D. So. So what I'm doing there, I like the. I was thinking maybe I'll play the D with all 6 fingers in the second octave. That's a little harder sometimes, and I was failing on it right there. So, trying to replicate some of the high D ornamentation. And please, as I'm doing, feel free to try out different things. Now, one of the things I'm also realizing, and I've known this, but sometimes I have to remind myself, some ornamentations, like for me, a cut coming off of that second octave E, I really, I sometimes, and this is probably me, I'll sometimes get a squeak if I'm bouncing the cut with the first and second hole rather than on the third hole. Sometimes ornamentation works a little differently on a different whistle, on a different finger. So if you're getting a squeak and a squawk on an ornament, please feel free to change that up. Okay, so notice I'm backing it up a little bit, thinking. I'm thinking while I'm playing, and do I want to try this? Do I want to try that? Try everything you think you want to try. Throw it in, experiment with it, pick up the pace. How does that sound when I pick up the pace? So for me, practicing is experimenting with how the tune's going. But I want to hear the tune flowing, but I also want to experiment with where I'm accentuating the tune through ornamentation and expression. I could even, on that, rolling into those E's, instead of an ornament, instead of like that, that's almost like a double cut, I think. I could slide into one. But you've also got to think, how does that work together? Anyway, for me, it's a lot of play, practice, experiment, play. Does it work coming up to speed? It's one thing playing it slower. It's another thing bringing it up to speed. So anyway, a bit of a rough practice session for me in some ways, but at the same time, I set it down after I introduced it because I wanted it to be the reality of what it is. So my friends, go through and learn this. Start picking up your pace, throwing in the ornaments you want until you get comfortable. This is, like I said, my first real practice session with how am I going to ornament this puppy. And I wanted to share that with you. Again, Fever Stock Photo, thank you 1,000 thanks. Glenside Polka, Shoe the Donkey Polka, and 20 other names. Have fun practicing and learning this tune better, my friends. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling.